What happened is, because I had worked on the Bill Cosby Show, where he's the school teacher. This was a show where he's a gym teacher at a school. It was one camera, and it didn't really work. But of course, like every other human being, I had heard Bill's tapes and just loved this mind. And I really enjoyed working with him. I found that he only did 1 or 2 takes, and he didn't really learn his lines. But there's such talent, there's such brilliance. And I had worked with Marcy and Tom when they were head of programming at ABC on soap. So they called me up and they said, we're doing a presentation for a Bill Cosby show. Would you do it? And I said, I would love to do it, but can I see a script? Well, we don't have a script. But it's not going on the air. It's a 5-10 minute presentation to show the network affiliates what the show is going to be like. Because it's a mid-season show. It won't go on until January. We're only going to make 6. Fine, okay. So I'm doing another show or another pilot, and I come to work, and I say, well, where's the script? He said, well, we don't have one. Bill met with the writers that we had picked, and it didn't work out. Whoa, we're supposed to do this in 2 weeks. Because Bill had a schedule, and they had to get it done. Well, yeah, but so we're trying somebody else. And I had worked with Ed Weinberger on the Bill Cosby Show and on Mary Tyler Moore. And I said, well, what about Ed? And so they called Ed up, and he said, yeah, I'll do it if I can bring in Michael Leeson. And the concept was eventually to do Bill's life, to do his stuff that he'd done on his records. I mean, there were 18 different concepts. Nightclub comedian, Bill wanted to do a New York City limo driver. I mean, all different concepts. And Tom and Marcy said, no, we want to do what Bill Cosby does. We want to do a show about that family. So Ed and Michael listened to a lot of Bill's records and distilled and then wrote a couple of their own little characters. And in the premise, Bill has this, in the pilot, there was a scene where his son doesn't care about getting good grades because it doesn't matter what kind of grades, because you don't have to be a genius. And he says, okay, fine. And he gave him Monopoly money, and he said, you work, at a low-paying job and you get X amount of dollars. And he said, and you got to pay for rent, so he takes a little money. And you got to buy food. And well, I'll eat peanut butter. All right, you take a little less money. And eventually he's got a little money left, and Bill says, hey, do you want to date? Sure. And he said, how are you going to date if you can't? Oh, well, she'll pay for it. And he says, well, you mean you think you're going to find all these good-looking girls who are going to go out with you if you don't take them to movies and everything? And Theo says, no, and he takes the rest. So all his money's gone. So that Bill had actually done with his own son. Not with the Monopoly money, but had talked about that idea. And Ed and Michael came up with the idea of doing it with Monopoly. We do the 10, 12-minute presentation, which became 16 minutes here. We had 1 day to rehearse, 1 day to do the cameras and shoot it, because Bill had a schedule. And Bill mumbles through everything and can't even remember some of his own routines. And we all gathered after the first day and said, maybe we should postpone this another day. And the producer said, well, if we postpone it, we can't get an audience. And I said, then we better do it, because I'm not going to do the show without an audience, because Bill really comes alive. First line, he opens the door, and the wife says to him, why do we have 4 kids? Because they were driving her crazy. And he said, because we didn't want to have 5. Big laugh, and just, it was amazing. Every line worked so well. And we did it in the afternoon, and the kid does this speech about, why can't you just love me for me? Why do I have to be successful? I'm a person, blah, blah, blah. And I don't have to get the best grades. I don't have to do this and that. And at the end, Bill says, that is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Well, the afternoon audience, which was basically kids, applauded when, at the end of Theo's speech, why can't you just love me for me? The evening audience burst into applause when Bill says that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. But it was just one of those magic things. Everybody, I mean, Bill knew everything and he was just saving it. So now they say, they see it and they say, we want to put this on in September, but we want to do it in New York because Bill wants to go to New York. And I said, I don't want to go to New York. I'm not going to New York. And my wife, who had been from New York, said, and I only had to do 12. I only had to do the first 12 because we'd already done one that was 13. So she said, you know, how bad can it be? We'll be back east and we can travel on the off weeks. And she made it sound good. I said, oh, all right. So I was just going to do the first 12 and then come back here because I'm a Californian and I don't like New York winters and I don't like New York summers. But I fell in love with the family and the kids. And so I stayed. And I did the first 3 years, I think, and then joined Grant Tinker and a company, and then would go back once a month.